was born with a few breathing issues. Then he fell sick and he didn't stay for long with us. So he's a baby that I was able to hold and see, but he didn't stay long. And so while I was going through the grieving process, I was at home. Thankfully, my workplace allowed me to have my full maternity leave. So I was picking myself up, asking myself questions, praying, going through the grieving process, doing therapy as well. And then I say God put it in my heart to write this book. And so I started writing, and I wrote and wrote. And I don't believe I got to all these pages, like 250 pages plus. Though I wrote it in 2021, but I sat on it because I was not ready to put it out there. So I just sat on it and shared it with a few friends here and there. And they told me, your book is amazing. You need to put it out there to help other people who are going through a similar loss, and just to encourage them. And so that's how I was able to launch the book this year. And that is how I'm here.
And here we are.
Here we are.
But Mercy, you say you wrote it in 2021, released it this year, 23, and you say you were not ready to release it. Why?
Yeah. Grief is a complicated process because you have so many mixed feelings, mixed emotions. You don't know, sometimes you don't know where to start. And so with the book, I narrate my grief process through like the five stages of grief, which I'm sure she'll talk about. So there's the denial or the shock. So at the beginning, there was a shock and numbness. I'm like, is this really happening? You'd pinch yourself and wonder, is this happening? And so there was that. There's the anger. You know, sometimes you ask God questions and you're like, me? Why me? And how is this happening to us? And if I'll mention, this is the second loss I'd had. So I have 2 babies in heaven, I say, and 1 baby here. I have a 4-year-old. So now the grief process was going on as I was penning down. So pretty much how I penned down this book is there were just journal entries and things that inspired me along the way, or things that I liked, things that made me feel comfort of some sort. Bible verses, my faith carried me through the whole process. So I journaled them down, and then that God put it in my heart to put everything into a book and to be as raw and as vulnerable as possible. And so I fought with the idea, and then I penned it down. Then I fought with the idea of releasing it, and then finally I did. The stages of grief, so the depression, the words. So it was a back and forth before I finally decided that, okay, I'm ready. I can release this book. Yeah.
Right. Dorothy, there's something Mercy mentioned, and I was actually going to ask her that question, why me? Because I ask because I have also experienced grief with my father, and I asked, why me? But people say, who do you want it to be? I found that rude, you know, but how do we go about that question?
The why me is the anger part. The why me is always the unsure part before it comes to, starting to bargain. It's also part of bargaining, because why me is, why should it happen to me? Why at this point of time? Again, dependent with the nature of the relationship you had with the departed, it can precipitate the why me, the why now, the why us. So the why me is part of the grief process, which again, it does not necessarily mean that it has to follow a particular procedure. Actually, the why me can even come after, in the case of a death, it could come even after burial. When the void is now so evident, now it is the why me. So the why me is asking questions, is the bargaining, the brain trying to understand, or rather come to terms with what is already real on the ground. So the why me is a very important phase. Actually, when I went to a friend's father's burial, I really wanted her to go the why me way. Because if you don't go the why me, then it means the why me is there, but you're numbing it. You're refusing to acknowledge it. So if you don't acknowledge it, eventually it will come out, and it won't come out in a why me when it's happened. The why me that will come later, the latter why me, is never a beautiful why me.
Right.
So the question why me is very important.
And as you speak, Dorothy, what's ringing on my mind is it's okay not to be okay. And you have that in your book, Mercy. Yeah? Dorothy, again, something that Mercy said, her place of work, her workplace, did allow her, time to heal, time to grieve, yeah? And I want us to talk about how important that is. Reminds me of a conversation we had, should be about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, on a show that I host tomorrow, that's To the Point, where we were talking about pregnancy loss leave, yeah? And a company in Kenya introducing that and all. But how important is it for a workplace, a company, to give its employees time to grieve?
Thank you, Grace. I think I was elated sometimes in the course of last month to have seen EABL introduce that. And I think I was so elated because, one, in as much as this is just a normal grief, a normal loss and grief that needs attention, they extend an olive branch to assure you, and that rather to also acknowledge your pain. Because if you're supposed to be given like a normal 1 week leave to go bury and then come back, psychologically you won't be there. So the fact that Kenya as a whole and companies are now embracing this part of grief, losing a child, losing pregnancy, is just as bad as losing a life. And now the cut of them still maintaining it as a maternity leave, for me I think gives the mothers, you see, like for her case, for Grace's case, she was, for Mercy's case, they were able to give her that opportunity. And then within that time, she was able to, pick up the pieces of herself. In fact, to her, the pain turned to a beautiful thing to the rest of the world. So imagine a case that she was not given such an opportunity. Where would she be today? So I'm happy from where I sit that companies in Kenya are now starting to understand that the loss of a pregnancy or loss of an infant is just as bad as a normal grief and a normal death. Yeah.
Right. Mercy, I want to ask something that's in your book, yeah? Because you ask, have you been told to be strong and not cry? And that's what I want to ask you.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I realized about grief is everyone has maybe their own experiences somewhere or has different sorts of advice. One piece of advice that really helped me during that time of grief was a lady. She asked me how I'm doing, and I said, I'm trying to be strong. And she said, you don't have to try to be strong. It's okay not to be okay. And she referenced Jesus in the Bible, and she said, Jesus cried when Lazarus died, and this is Jesus. And so tears are not a form of weakness or a form of lack of faith. Tears are just you acknowledging that you have lost something precious and you're processing the emotions. I like what you said about not suppressing your feelings. And so I had to learn not to suppress my feelings. So anytime I was feeling low, I could give myself permission to grieve. Or if I was feeling down, I'd give myself permission without feeling guilty or thinking, oh, it's my faith that is low. A lot of people maybe in the church will say they're in a better place, and sometimes maybe they may minimize it or try to make you minimize your pain. But I learned that even faith and grief can correlate. I mean, it does not mean that you do not have faith if you're going through a hard time, you're going through maybe depression, through a loss. It's okay. If Jesus wept, even you have the permission to weep. And so no one should tell you, or when I go for funerals and I hear people being told, don't cry, I'm like, no. It is part of being human. You're human. You need to cry. You need to let it out. Don't suppress it. It's healthy, in fact, to cry. And suppressing, like she said, is very unhealthy. And Yeah, so it's okay not to be okay.
And you know what, I'm burning because they told me it is well. They told me he's in a better place. They told me something worse could have happened. But that did not help me.
Yeah. So that's rationalization, I think. Just trying to... I realize people want to see you okay. And so it's not also coming from a bad place. But minimizing is not the way. And I talk about Job's friends. When Job was going through all the issues and his friends came and said A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. So I think the best thing is just acknowledge that someone is hurting and just, sit in silence and just say, I'm here, without trying to rationalize it, because they're still processing it. So when you rationalize it for them, you don't give them a chance to process it, and don't allow them to even grieve in front of you. So just, the silence sometimes is good, but presence, yeah.
Right. Okay, still with you, Mercy. I want us to talk about, before we get to the healing part, before we get to finding hope after, I want us to talk about the impact of this loss, pregnancy loss or infant loss. Dorothy will take us through the psychological impact, but Mercy, I want you to talk to us about the physical impact or the physical discomfort, because when a woman is pregnant, even her body knows, we are pregnant, we are getting ready for this, and then something happens.
Yeah.
Take us through your experience.
So it's a hard ordeal, both physically and emotionally. So once you've had your baby, and the breast milk automatically comes, because your body has read that there's a baby that has come, and so now when the baby is no more, your body doesn't know that your baby is no more, and so it's producing breast milk. So I remember being so engorged and wondering, okay, what will I do? And I had to get medication to help the engorgement go down. I had to try remedies to just help the swelling to go down as well. And so it was a painful process, and at the same time I'm healing from a C-section wound, and so it was very a hard ordeal, both emotionally and physically. Yeah.
All right, Mercy. Dorothy, the psychological impact?
The psychological impacts are as deep as physical impact, because they are interdependent. Once like she's saying, the breast milk is coming out, it constantly reminds you of the absence of that precious baby. So that one would cause you anxiety attacks. That one would cause you, mood disorders. That one would cause you lack of sleep, insomnia, and again your appetite would go down, depressive moods, and a lot of other mental health issues. But again, as she's saying, that in as much as she was trying to hold back, she's trying to heal. You're trying to heal from your body and your mental preparation of having this baby, and then all of a sudden this baby is, it's literally lifted out of your hands like this. Now, again, trying to reprogram your mind that now it's not here. It's not here. Okay. How you talk to yourself, how you tell yourself these things, how you accustom yourself with these things also has psychological impact, in as much as the physical is there, but again, how you speak to yourself, how you speak to that situation, how it happens, and the rationalization part of it, how they talk to you, how they tell you to, handle things, that has massive, massive, massive impact on your mental health.
And in fact, how should people talk to people in such situations or circumstances? What do you say? What do you not say? Mercy spoke of just presence. I actually prefer that sometimes, because like she said, someone tells you something out of goodwill actually, but it gets you or rubs you the wrong way.
Before I go to what should they say, remember with the loss of a child as a person, first of all, you're dealing with guilt. Be it miscarriage or be it the neonatal once the baby is born. You're dealing with guilt, you're dealing with anger, you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with shame. You get? Now you're dealing with all these emotions, and then somebody's coming to tell you that, you know, it's better that the child died, now they're in a better place. You know, you're like, wait first. What are you even talking about? So if, depending on their stature in the society, or rather how you regard them, you'd want to brush them off, so that you also maintain that relationship, but you'd want to brush them off. Psychologically, you're blocking them off. Once you block them, their words cut like a double-edged sword. They cut so deep. So sometimes it's better that the society understands that miscarriage and the death of an infant is as a loss of your father.
Right.
The way you'd talk to me when I lose my father is the same way you should talk to me when I have a miscarriage. It's not that I was not a mother enough, because first of all, I've started asking myself, if I was a mother enough, why me? You know. So as you come to speak to me, talk to me because I've lost something so precious. If you don't have anything to say, I always say, if you don't have anything to say, please just come sit there.
Don't say it.
Actually come and start singing.
Or just keep quiet.
Or just keep quiet.
Give me
just
water,
look at me.
give me whatever, anything I need. Yeah? Okay. So we are due for a break. Let's take that break. Stay with us. We come back and continue with this conversation on pregnancy and infant loss. Stay with us.